Hi, this is Rose. And before we begin, have you charged like a bull?
Meet Rose Odette, tech trailblazer, EMR pioneer, and $100 million founder. Her book, Charge Like a Bull, unveils 7 strategies to scale without investors. Crush your limits, dominate emerging markets, forge unstoppable alliances. Ready to break through? Get your copy on Amazon now.
Hey, grab your copy of Charge Like a Bull and Charge Like a Bull game plan book. You don't need book 1 to get the game plan book. Skip that 450 pages if you want to get right to work like I usually do. They'll both be out on Amazon waiting for you, and you'll find the link in the show notes. And a sneak peek, if you're more into Audible books, the Audible book will be ready at the end of June of 2025, and I've already listened to the first 30 minutes, and it's amazing. I did not narrate it. I hired a professional actor to narrate it, and thank God I did. Anyway, see you in the podcast.
Hi, everyone. Well, welcome to today's episode of Bullish on Business. And today we have Michael Kent from Traverse City all the way down here in Cadillac. How you doing today, Michael?
I'm doing great.
I'm so happy. I'm so happy you're here. You really did outdo yourself. He completely redid my studio. He helped me figure out my microphones. He brought in way better mics, way better camera, the whole 9 yards. Now I need to just have him just leave and forget everything as he leaves, just leave it where it's
I
at.
have some people who might be upset about that.
I imagine he would. Michael comes to us from a lot of experience in photography, and we'll get into all of that and some of the new initiatives that we've got going on with Spark Studio and a lot of other things. But like we do on every podcast, we like to get to know who Michael is as a person, as an individual, and find out kind of what are you all about, Michael?
What
Give
am
us
I
a little
all
bit
about?
about your background.
Well, I have been a portrait and wedding photographer for about 15 years. I grew up in the Traverse City area, left. My wife and I met at Central Michigan at Central Michigan University at a coffee shop called Fifi's. Are we allowed to swear on this podcast?
Absolutely.
Cool. We met at a thing called Sweet Shit Tuesdays, which is just a bunch of art geeks meeting up, and we did improv sketches and just lots of just art school stuff. And yeah, we came back to Traverse City to kind of get our footing after we lived in Chicago for a while, lived in Ann Arbor for a minute, and just decided to kind of see if we could figure out something here. And we both grew up in the area. She's originally from the Bay Area, from San Francisco Bay Area, and kind of realized that this place was cool, which is a bit obvious now, but 15 years ago, there wasn't as much happening, and we kind of decided to see if we could do the whole big fish, small pond thing. There was not as much competition as there was out west and as there was in Chicago and downstate. And she was a teacher at the time. I was working in coffee, and I was like, I wonder if I started a photography business, if I could make any money just on the side. And I have still credited our long and illustrious career to the fact that in that time, it was rare to consider how your website showed up on Google.
Mm-hmm.
And over time, obviously, we know the story that Google became, a market leader in how people get found in the world, not just online, but in general. And because I had put bare minimum into SEO and kind of search discoverability, et cetera, my website floated to the top in ways that other people's did not. That did not make me the best photographer, as we know that Google is not an arbiter of truth necessarily. I was just easier to find than some. And that put me in a position to try my hand at my craft over and over and over, and experiment with new styles and new genres, and make a lot of mistakes, realistically. I mean, I had a lot of early customers that honestly just weren't happy with the work or my production of it or the way I communicated. And over, say, 6 years, probably, we made changes and fixed things. And I hired an assistant who started answering those emails hey, I'm sorry about the thing. Like those things led to realizations into how to treat our clients better, how to become better at the craft. Because I come from the art world first and then learned all these like business things. I decided a long time ago I joined into like we'll call it the startup weekend community about over 10 years ago, and met a lot of the same people that we know now, but in a different era, and sat in the back of meetings and like would Google things as people like, what is ROI? I don't know what that is. I'll look that up. And I built my MBA off of, Google searching things in rooms full of much smarter people than me.
My gosh, wow, what a background. Tell me about your art. What were you always a photographer? Was that your art from day one?
It's an interesting question. The question for creatives and especially photographers, which photographers are a weird breed where we had to fight for, generations to get into like the hallowed halls of the art world. And to this day, you'll often hear like there's the art museum and then there's like the photography wing, and it will be like almost like separated from. So I work I work intimately with a lot of photographers to convince themselves that they are artists. And it is a challenge because, photography is a weird hybrid of like, it's technology, right? Like if I push this button, a series of like, someone described it as like electric rocks. It's all like metals and, things that humans made to capture. If I do this, that image is stored here. That's magic. That's science. That is like technology. And then in the right hands, somebody can take that and craft that into something that is what we call art, right? So photography is this weird hybrid of like 50-50. It's like very technically demanding, and in the right hands, you can then apply that to a very creative field. So I went to art school and I really enjoyed my time in art school, but I didn't so much learn how to be a photographer as I learned how to like think creatively and think like an artist, break things down, notice that like the lighting, the background, all of these aspects, each tiny little nuance matters to the end product. And that's a lot of the stuff that we talk about in our business world now, right? The things that I do in, the business development side of things, I very much think about every aspect of the client interaction. How are people finding me? How are they feeling when they first interact with my website, social media? All of these things matter. And that's the stuff that I learned in art school, that I joke like the day I left art school and decided to start a business is when I learned like how to take a picture. Like they didn't teach a lot of like, here's what the buttons do. I had to go out into the real world and like try and explore and learn how to talk with the client and not shrink down. And this commonly you'll
hide behind it.
Hold on. Should we do something over here? Instead of like, Rose, I want you to like sit this way and move this. We're good. Let's move over this way. Those two different types of energies feel different.
They do.
And that's something that I had to learn in the real world. You don't learn that in art school. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. And it brings out your personality.
Yeah.
And I'm already feeling the tears rolling into my eyes, listening to the passion you have for photography and the passion you have for other photographers. Yeah. With that, I'd like to talk a little bit before we jump into the photography business. Talk about other photographers and how you like to nurture them.
Yeah, so I want to say 2018. I should just know these numbers. 2018 or so, I was really bored sitting in a photography networking group and really wanted, instead of talking about like spreadsheets and again, like ROI and all these other like important but not fun things to think about at the time, I was just antsy and itchy to like have photography friends. So I invited some people out to go shoot and just meet up at a park and just learn together. And again, we had recognition in the market, mostly thanks to Google, mostly thanks to SEO. And so actually, scratch that. I had a lot of years of experience at that point. I was good at my job by that point. People liked my work. So at that point, that had nothing to do with Google. That was me. I got to be good at my job because I did my job. But that meant that the first time I asked a group of photographers to come out to an event, I had about 15 people show up, and we just walked around the park, took pictures, and but then people started asking me questions like, how are you doing that? Like, why are you doing that? And the story that I've told a bunch of times that I really like is I like to overthink branding and business models. And this was the one time that I didn't do that. And I just was like, let's go hang out. And then people started going, so I have all these cool pictures from this thing. Like, do I just like email them to everybody? Or I was like, oh, I need to start a Facebook group. I get to think about logos. What is the business model like for this thing? Like all of a sudden the floodgates opened and I allowed myself to kind of like think about how to monetize this. And, that was like 6 years ago. And I still, from the beginning, and I'm very proud of the decision early on to not go into monetization early. I wanted to focus on community building and building, goodwill within our market and within the broader like Northern Michigan area, so that we actually had a place to, in one sense, like just gather and bring people together. Cut to 2025, and I really, really feel at my most alignment with what I should be doing, with what I'm good at, sitting in a field with a group of photographers teaching. And I love my work as a portrait photographer, don't get me wrong. But when it comes to the photography world, I am very skilled at helping other people grow in their craft, the creativity, shooting, lighting, the business side of things, is all things that I love.
Fantastic. Wow. Well, I know that the community that you have built and are building, they're really going to be beneficial. It's going to be a benefit to the photography as a whole, and I'm very, very excited about that. So let's talk
I
about
should probably say what it is.
Oh, well, I think that might be a good idea.
I didn't even ourphotoclub.co. The name was originally designed to be like a generic sort of like anybody could be in possession of. So if we decided we wanted to do like an LA photography club or like a New York or like a Michigan, that we could like put prefixes on it. I now just like the generic in general. And then I couldn't afford photoclub.com. So I just was looking for other prefixes to put on it, and our made it communal, made it like for everybody. And I just put that on the website, and then people started using it as the name, and it stuck. So Our Photo Club is the name of the community. You are welcome to join.
Fantastic. And we will definitely put that in the show notes so that when you take a look at that, you'll be able to join Michael. They meet about once a month, I think, and go out to different places. And I just got to see some of the photos they took. Was it last night? Night before?
Wednesday. What is that? This past week.
Couple days ago, and they're gorgeous over at Sleeping Bear Sand Dunes, I think is where you were.
Yep.
Awesome. So now let's switch over to you and Brooke, and how you started your photography business. So tell us the genesis of that business.
I kind of started a little bit into it, but we came back to Traverse City, and we decided we wanted to kind of like plant a flag here, thinking that we could do something different that we couldn't necessarily do in a larger market. And it started out, Brooke was still teaching 7th and 8th grade language arts and drama. She is a much kinder person than I am. And it was partially my job to, keep us going when she had worked a full day, and she was exhausted. We're like, hey, let's go shoot a wedding, or we wouldn't shoot a wedding after a full day of school, but you get the point. Like, got an engagement shoot or a family portrait or something. It was challenging. But we had the luxury of being discoverable online, and we had the luxury of iterating and trying lots of different things. And then over the years, we had a kid, and then we had 2 kids, and COVID happened, and life changed. The world changed quite a bit. And now our business model is wildly different. We both shoot weddings, and we both shoot a lot of like commercial work together. But I do all of the families and high school senior portraits and branding portraits.
So how many weddings do you think you've shot?
Oh man, I wish I had that number prepped. 15 years, probably we try to keep the number to less than like 25 a year. But we didn't do 25 for the first like 5 years. So what's that, like 250? Maybe?
Wow.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. And so with that, I love your mission, emotionally honest and compassionate photography for all good humans. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Who came up with that?
I think this was before ChatGPT, so I'm gonna take full ownership on that.
So you did.
Yeah.
did.
Nowadays, any of the other marketing that we do now, it's still me, but I brainstorm with my friend ChatGPT. But we had been using the term "good humans" has run through a lot of our marketing materials. We use it on Photo Club as a way to remind people be kind, and also the type of people that we are looking to add to the community are just good people. Doesn't matter your skill, doesn't matter your age, doesn't matter what type of equipment you like, what you want out of photography. You could be an artist, you could be a hardcore business operator, you could be a hobbyist, you could be barely interested and just want some activities to do on the side. And I don't care who you are. I say all ages, all skill levels, all good humans.
Amazing. That's awesome. I remember when I first met you, you mentioned something about going to Europe with your photography.
Yeah.
Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I travel primarily with a group called Gunnell Innovation, and they are a Michigan-based, a little complicated. There's actually two companies in one. Gunnell Innovation is a culinary excursion group, and they will take people to places all over, mostly Europe. And Megan is an incredible, host and event curator. And Freeman, her husband, is a classically trained chef. And I land in a country, stay at some sort of villa of sorts, and I just eat really yummy food. And I get to be kind of one of the guests in the mix. Kind of one of my major skills as a photographer is kind of sinking into a community and feeling, having the event feel like I'm not an outlier of, but a member of that community. So they were, this is going to sound self-aggrandizing, but they were wise to just treat me like somebody who likes to eat food and just say, hey, if we're going on an excursion that is, cost per head, they have me as one of those members, so that I'm just the guy in there with the camera.
Immerse yourself.
I'm immersed. That's what I was looking for. Really,
Yeah.
that couldn't come up with.
Right.
And then Megan also is, in her professional life, a highly respected psychotherapist. I believe she does music therapy traditionally. And then I don't know her timeline, but she has one of the larger Facebook communities for psychotherapists, and she teaches therapists. When we met, it was amazing how similar our kind of trajectories were. In the same way that I am a photographer who loves working with photographers, she is and was a therapist who loves working with therapists to help them grow. So when they're doing an excursion, say in, Tuscany, I will stay with them, document that thing as a culinary experience. And then sometimes I will stay, and a group of therapists will show up and they'll do a similar retreat with less focus on food, more on growth as a professional in the mental health space. And I document both of those things.
Oh my gosh. How
pretty crazy.
exciting. That had to be a lot of fun too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been to some pretty cool places.
That sounds amazing.
One of the best experiences being, I love access to hidden spaces or private spaces. And when there's a beautiful event happening with like a coursed meal paired with some of the local wine from the region and the unique culinary experiences from that region, and then you get this like really nice, beautiful bite of something. And then I walk into the kitchen and the chef just hands you a plate for this, family meal. And you're like, yes, I will take it too.
And that sounds
Yeah,
amazing.
it's lovely.
What a beautiful part of the world to go to. Wow, that's awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that with us, because that's so unique. Very, very cool. And that you were able to really, I know at Oops, where I met you, you do the same thing. And now I understand the way you tick, because you took pictures of us at Oops the other day. Amazing pictures, just unbelievable. And you guys have got to take a look at his site. And the photographs are just breathtaking.
Thank you.
And I felt that. I felt like, well, because you are part of us, so it wasn't that hard to. But you do that with everyone that the groups that you work with.
It's definitely easier when I am naturally inclined to the community. The fact that the people at Oops are just my friends makes it easier. I can understand how you tick. I understand when something happens to you and I see your reaction to it. I know when you're like actually excited about something and not just being nice to somebody. Now, part of the skill as a photographer, our job is just to see and watch. And I'm very adept at showing up in a space and quickly kind of ascertaining who is the power center in the space, who is emotionally charged, who needs me to step back and not have a camera in their face. It's just easier when we get along really well. I mean, I'm not gonna say that I can't photograph somebody that I like. If it's a group of Excel professionals, I'll find something to be interested in. But the fact that therapists and photographers tend to be very similar, the fact that I already like food and I don't mind being in Tuscany or Costa Rica, those things aren't hard for me. Makes my job very easy.
Yeah. So are you? Now this is woo woo, but when is your birthday?
March 18th.
Okay, so you're a piece. All right. So
You're just gonna move on and not tell me what that means?
well, I was gonna say that you are very empathic.
Yeah.
And I don't know that as a Pisces characteristic.
Interesting.
So I have to.
It's a water sign, doesn't empath
Yes.
have something with
Yes.
water?
Because you are very empathic. Being able to do that, to really feel that you feel your way in a group, and the ability for you to pick up on those, you can read a room.
Yeah.
And that's what you're describing. That's really
One of-
another skill that blends, taking great to capturing those great moments.
One of my weird, or that sounds negative, but one of the aspects of myself that I appreciate is I have lived in a lot of like binaries and polarities. I do a lot of photography in feminine spaces, and I'm not. I am quite empathic, but I tend to run it through an analytical lens. I really like yoga, and I don't know or necessarily care if I'm either just sitting there and quieting my mind and having like some quiet time with myself, or if it's like touching into something deeper. It doesn't matter to me if one of those is more true than the other. I just get some benefit out of it, and I allow myself to kind of live in that space between, which is not that dissimilar from photography is half tech, half emotional, half art. And I really like that kind of living on the binary, living kind of not on the binary, but living on the strata between a binary.
But one thing that I do notice about you is that you are like a dog with a bone. If you have something that you want to figure out,
Yeah.
you don't go halfway.
Well, I couldn't let you run it the way you did. And I broke it, and then I had to fix it, and then break it and fix
But
it.
it's not just that. Every time that we get into a deep conversation, and we have had many, it's so cool because it's never superfluous. It's always we start and then we get to the answer, and that's not lazy.
No.
That is not lazy.
Which is funny because for years I thought myself quite lazy. And I've said, I think deep down at my core, I still think of myself as a lazy person. But I can't truthfully say that if I take a step back and look at
Absolutely not. But we all feel that way, probably because our parents called us lazy when we were kids.
I love you, Mom and Dad.
Anyway, so I just loved it. And now I'm super, super excited about this new thing on the horizon. And I don't know if you've even launched this into the world.
A little bit. We've done some. You want to go ahead and say
Yeah,
what it
let's
is?
talk about it. So we're going to talk about Spark Studio, which is so far we've talked about Michael's photography studio with his wife, where they do weddings and family portraits and senior pictures and all of the traditional photography work. We've talked about our photo club, which is truly something he started out of the needing community, wanting to reach out and be with others. And now he's actually starting a brand new thing, which is so amazingly cool. It's going to reach not just Traverse City, not just our local community. Basically, it's going to reach the world, the World Wide Web. And he calls it Spark Studio. So help us understand your mission and vision.
Yeah. So
that.
I'm going to roll it back a bit and kind of give you a backstory and like where it came from, because I have a bad habit of a feeling like I'm trying to avoid the kind of jack of all trades moniker, but these things are all nested on purpose and they all do make sense. Spark Studio started as a project that I did for myself, and like all good things that I've built, they are just an extension of something that I already love to do. And if I'm not overreaching, if I'm not trying to, rebuild the wheel, and instead just touching on something that is intimately interesting to me, usually it means that it's in alignment with something that somebody else is going to need. So I built this past winter, we built a program called Our Photo Camp, which is Photo Club as a local event working on building digital services for people, broadly speaking. So not just making it a Northern Michigan, Traverse City service. That was 9 courses over 3 days with 8 educators. And it was all photographers that were friends of mine, people that I knew through my travels from all over the world. And we created a digital summer camp that was 3 days. You could just sit in your living room, watch something online, take notes, and just attend from anywhere. That way it's not just, hey, if you want to be a member of my community, come, on a random Tuesday, go hike some dunes with us where we are, but anybody from anywhere would have access to these skills. And then sitting in Costa Rica with a group of therapists, and I was like all excited and sharing what I was doing. And we had wrapped it. They were watching some of the videos from it. And somebody was like, could you teach me how to do this? And not the camp, but the teaching.
Right.
And at the core of what I did through camp was allow myself to go to another photographer and say, I think you have something of value here. Can I help share it with the world? And most of them came back and said, I mean, that sounds awesome, but like, what would I teach? Right? Like, I'm confident in my skills, but who wants to hear from little old me? And then I would give them, and this is almost bar none, I would give every single one of them a list of like 3 or 4 things that I came prepped. I was like, here's the skills that I believe that you are good at. And they would go, I could talk about that for hours. And they did. So Spark Studio at its core is 2 main things. It was started with the goal of helping people monetize and share their knowledge that they have deeply learned. I would say deeply held beliefs, deeply intimate knowledge that they are hard won, that they've been building for 10, 15, 20 years, and helping them get that out into a product that they can sell. So it's course creation through that. And then we have a program called Spark Time, which is just helping people break through both tech, creative, and business blockages. So I just sat down with somebody last week, and we went from a website that was done but non-inspiring to, we sat down for only 2 hours and we completely redid her business model, not necessarily in terms of ROIs and, business, like, hardcore business language, but what did she want? What does she want her life to look like around this business? What does that translate to the client that you want to be working with? And is that the type of person that is interested in that service? And then worked on the language that got her to be able to speak on the front of that website to somebody who's actually interested in that work. And it was beautiful.
Inspiring.
Yeah. I walked out of those sessions so full I have to take a nap afterwards. Unironically, like we left and I just go, I'm mush. I can't talk anymore. And like,
Right.
we're done because we're done, but we're done because I'm also fully tapped.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So you're really being a muse.
Yes.
You're really helping people understand their expertise
Mhm.
and really sharing their expertise.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Because there are so many people that can't get out of their own way and
Overthink it.
overthink it and, analysis paralysis and just feel like, well, if it's not perfect, I can't get it out. But I also don't have the skills to make it more than it is right now.
So if I wanted to, someone's watching this and they have an expertise, basket weaving or,
Basket weaving's my go-to also, but I used to say underwater basket weaving.
underwater. So if somebody has a passion, they're really good at it, and they want you to be their muse. Is this a package that you put together,
Mhm.
or is that something that we can find on your
Yeah, sparkstudiolab.com, and that's called Spark Time.
and they can click, sign up?
Yeah.
And then do you go to them or do they come to you? Do it online?
We can do it through Zoom. We can do it in person. Either way, I have a meticulous process of recording that we get really good notes from. We do a transcription of everything. So they're like a searchable document that we can come back to. We can really have, it's not just muse work, right? It's also tangible. It comes like at the end of it, you will receive the feeling of accomplish something, but also like action plans for the next steps.
Fantastic.
Mhm.
And is that part of the studio, or what's the difference between Spark?
Spark Studio is just the
Studio?
company name.
Is the company
Yeah,
name?
Spark Time is the product, and then we also have the education product. It's Spark Studio for Educators is how we help people pull those things out and actually sell that as a course.
Okay.
Mhm.
And so if they want to do online courses,
Mhm.
do you help them with their online course development?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yep.
So cool. And that's all through your Spark Studio. This is amazing. This is just fantastic. So before we wrap this up,
Mhm.
I just wanted to make sure that that because of you being on the podcast today,
Mm.
you'll be receiving my 2 books that I can
Aw.
share. You'll be getting Charge Like a Bull here, and the workbook that goes with it.
Oh, that's
So-
super exciting.
And basically what it does is it takes you through the 7 different strategies of how I actually grew my business years ago. And, working with the strategic alliances, working with different things, absolutely something that might help you as you grow
Yeah.
and move across different geographies. So with that, is there any other things you'd like to share with our audience prior to our podcast today?
I don't think so. I will say I'm super excited to dig through your work because hanging out at primarily at Oops events, you have been such a, I'm gonna use your language again, just a muse. Like you helped me get the photo camp concept out as simply as reminding me that ChatGPT existed, as somebody
Right.
that has many times reminded people that this tool exists. I was already using it, and like I said before, I struggle with jack of all trades syndrome. I struggle with like ADHD, and I'm not blowing smoke. I have told many other people this about you. Your simple reminder to use that tool changed my life, because what you allowed me to do is pre-plan a year's worth of work in a way that I have never in my life been able to get something done. That was by far the biggest product I have ever pushed to market. And I pushed it in a very clean and thoughtful and detailed way that allowed me to be a little bit of a perfectionist, like I like to be, but also get that out the door in a way that I don't usually get to do. I usually get to 80% on a project that scale and can easily move on to something else, get distracted. And in this case, you helped me push it out the door in a way that made me, it honestly changed the course of the direction of my life.
Oh my gosh. Well, Michael, I'm blushing. You are okay. I'm so excited. This is probably my favorite podcast. Sorry, everybody else. But Michael is such a genuine artist, such a genuine business person. Definitely has his heart in the right spot. Definitely somebody that if you cross paths, you will be, you'll never forget it. And you'll be better because of it.
Now I'm blushing.
But we're going to make sure that we bring Michael back in about a year to see how the Spark Studio has evolved and how the next summit goes for the Our Photo
Camp.
And
I got a lot of branding titles.
Absolutely. And it's hard to keep a good man down when he's got so many great ideas. So with that, we're going to call it a day. And thanks again, Michael, for coming on the podcast. Bye, everybody.
Bye.